in, Asia today, and so you guys know too. If you're interested to see what the previous commission did about the comp plan, it's in the minutes, and it starts. I think it was April of 2020, which are all on the website too. I could also send it to you if you don't. But I just thought, I don't know, just information.
So did they take a look at it in 2020?
Yeah, we did, we went through, like what you guys are gonna do, each meeting, we went through one chapter. And so there's minutes on it. And I don't
Did
know,
they make a lot of changes?
no, they didn't make any changes, they went through it all. Right, and then we got to the point where they were going to make their priorities of what they wanted to do.
Right.
And then it just, like, applications came up and they never did that part of it.
Okay, so it got sidelined. So do we have a summary of what they wanted to do?
Well. Kind of, I mean, that sheet that she put in there was, I had written, it's a super rough draft, like, I didn't think she was gonna be putting it in agenda packets. And like,
You mean this little one sheet thing?
Yeah.
That said, okay,
like the first one I didn't even do, I think I was gonna go back to it, it's left blank, the Cleveland City.
and that's what it says, the 2020-2021 Planning Commission.
Yeah, that was just like a really rough summary.
Is she here to present this to us?
She's gonna be here at the meeting.
So really,
I was wondering, because she did such a great job last time,
They know already.
being sarcastic.
okay, so these are the notes from 2020 that never got implemented, but there's not a whole lot on here
There's
that's.
not really much on it.
No,
But what I was gonna say, and I don't remember. Let
yeah,
me just like, look for this really quick, 'cause I just found it, so, okay, so like here's, I think it started back in. I wanna say April. And these are all online,
all these notes.
the minutes,
Yes,
the
okay,
minutes and the agendas. Review, okay, the planning commission is, they're just becoming familiar with it. Okay, I guess we start out with the unique character, so. Well, I'm just saying there's information that when they went through it, and it may or may not, I mean, this was 4 years ago, I mean, we'll see. Like I say, stuff has changed and,
Mhm.
but I'm just trying to tell you that there's information out there. If you feel like going through it. And I don't remember exactly. I know,
So is this kind of a regurgitation of what is already in the comprehensive plan?
this is what they were taught, because the comprehensive plan was done in 2016.
Right,
So then they say every 5 years we do it.
yeah,
So in 2020, we started going through it.
right, and
And-
these are the notes, but it looks like
Right.
this is just a summation of what's already like in there.
Let's see if they came up with anything to do. I mean,
Impacts of infill, lighted neighbor, lighted property.
right, so it's kind of just, okay. They never, like I said, they never came up with
With like, hey, this is.
like, this is what we wanna do, yeah.
Okay,
And
and
then,
then,
let me look at the next. Version. Okay, so recommended to Board of Selectmen to include 2021 budget process, 3 mile plan, that was something. I guess we need to, okay, so this is the. Oh, compact community. So like,
right, so we have here, like compact communities right here.
okay, so
So
it's
this
just
is the compact.
describing,
Right,
gateway, commercial, commercial mixed use, it's just describing.
this kind of says priority action, but this I think came from the 2015 plan. It says,
Yeah.
prepare an ordinance regulating nuisances within 3 miles of the town, limits and storage of explosives within 1 mile. So I don't know if that's something these guys said, okay, here's what we're gonna do with that. Or did they just reiterate what was here?
Okay, so 3 mile plan, recommended board to include in 21 budget process,
Adopt a resolution
updating the plan in accordance with,
with this, with.
is that the same CRS? no, that's 15,401. Okay.
Yeah.
Explore transfer of development rights with Clear Creek County.
12,105 is this one. Here's 31,
Okay,
that's this one.
okay,
Annually adopt a resolution updating the town's 3 mile area plan and.
okay, so that.
So they did that, but that's more like, yeah, that's.
That was just like
That section.
an outline, I guess.
Yeah.
since- Yeah,
Hi, how are you?
I love that, blue.
Thank you. So basically, they just, like, that's just according to Hoyle, and then we're just one thing that has to happen.
yeah. Does that talk about enhancement of private land development? That probably had-
Development, and yeah, right here.
Okay, so did they talk about outdoor lighting there?
Priority action, update the subdivision infrastructure. Update the outdoor lighting standards. And
That seems like that would be a good thing to
Yeah,
do,
it does.
because it's kind of vague, you know, the dark
This is the
sky.
restatement though of this.
Okay,
In other words.
so I
these
guess
are
I
not
was just
new.
outlining.
These are just, like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what we said, this is what, and it doesn't mean it was nothing, I mean, obviously they reviewed.
They
it.
talked about it, you know, but they didn't, okay, development of vacant properties, okay, so Bighorn Crossing, yeah, Cabin Creek, might fit, so that was obviously done.
Right,
Yes. I would say, you know what, and the amplified sound permit is really big too.
what's
It
that?
seems like that's when somebody has a special event and they wanna play like amplified music through a speaker.
Oh,
And it's kind of like, we could look it up in the code, but
is it not allowed?
no, it's allowed, they have to get a permit, it's
Yeah.
like $25, you notify the neighbors. But to measure the sound is kind of like, how do they do that?
No, it's.
I mean, how do they-
So I've seen that in other communities, and it's like, I mean, clearly if it's blaring like headbanging Norwegian. Heavy metal,
Mhm.
maybe people don't wanna listen to it, but, you know.
Honestly, I don't wanna hear any of that crap past 10 o'clock.
Well, usually 10.
Right.
Unless I'm at the freaking party.
They don't let it run past 10, you know?
Yeah, and with any town, it's like 10 o'clock is usually the cutoff, and
Mhm.
you have to be quiet after that, and that, you know what I mean, that stands to reason, that's.
I mean, unless you're like over here and it's like out of town or something.
Or there's a special event, like I don't know, a Fourth of July, I might be smoking stuff up, but you know, yeah, that might go to midnight or something, but that's in the downtown area, it's not like in your backyard.
Most of the time, it's like the Hamel House, we'll have.
Yeah, exactly.
A what?
Right,
Like a
right.
wedding.
Like you said, a rave, I'm like, a rave at the Hamel House, that sounds.
That would be very exciting.
Make the water fountain into different colored lights.
Yeah, that place is haunted as hell.
So people keep telling us.
Yeah, I don't believe that shit.
They did one a week, obviously.
That might be-
That's what we're doing today, so
Yeah.
what did they say?
Place where people live.
It's really good.
Yeah, let's look at that one, because that's what we're doing
That's for
today.
mine.
Wait a
And
minute,
that's still sitting on a shelf.
contact light here. Right,
So, trail,
Not sure.
proposed trail linkages.
okay.
Was that?
We're still
was
on, this was never part of it.
2020 comprehensive.
So they want to
What the
complete
planning commission's
proposed
out.
trail linkages in 2016.
Okay.
They basically prepared a trail education brochure. See, this is all
That-
reiterating what happened in 2016.
But is it, did they only have one priority? I guess they.
No.
They had two, okay.
Yeah.
Where was
That was also,
Okay, all right.
yeah.
Sidewalk conditions.
So they're all.
That's
In
Those
there.
are all in there. What this was a reiteration, they probably what they did was reaffirmed.
They talked
what was
about,
here.
yeah,
They said, you know what, those are still good ideas, let's just
yeah,
reaffirm them, and that's what they did, and we might wind up doing the same thing. You know, we might look at all of these
You get that as packet.
trends and go, oh, what, you know what, those are
Actually,
still good.
everyone did expect.
Yeah.
And.
or maybe we wanna come up with something.
I think the economy, for the economy, there's some things we should be doing with business, not just promotion, I have to come, I don't know what to say.
Alex should just.
Who comes here, who shops here, how do we analyze all that? You know, that would be, but that's a whole nother week. This week, we're talking about livability.
Yeah, that has some cool technology and metrics for that kind of stuff, right?
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Hello.
Hello.
What a fun shirt, Bruce.
What is it, Hawaiian? Is he already on daycare?
You're spraying blood at work?
Our spring potluck.
Oh,
There you go, and this is the point, why did I know this?
Time to have to dress the part.
sorry, Jake, your shirt's not that cute, so. Just one.
More than orange.
Long.
See, I associate
Chris, I
that,
don't appreciate my shirt.
that color I associate with
Oh, yeah.
goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello,
Hello. Does it matter where we sit? Do we have?
no.
You can
Well,
actually mix it up.
I mean, you just sit where you normally sit.
This is where I sat last time.
That packet is for you though, so
Okay.
picked a great spot. Georgia, wasn't LaForet incredible? So nice. LaForet,
So my son, my youngest son, who's a chef, took me to La Forêt on Friday night for Mother's Day dinner, because he's a chef, so he works on Mother's Day.
What is the for?
So that is, do you know, Mike and Lenka? Mike Huggins and Lenka,
Oh, yeah.
they're great, I like them, and they started that restaurant, they own that restaurant, they own,
in Denver.
yeah, in Denver. So they took over a space of a restaurant I used to really love. Anyway, I'm sitting in there and I'm looking over and there's Keisha, and I'm thinking, you know that girl, like,
No, it's not really the same place.
and I'm like, why is she here? Like, you know how you see people out of contact?
Yeah, I know.
And so I looked at my son and said, she's from.
Hello.
Hello. So anyway, that, so we heard that, she was with some friends and I was with my son. They were like, hi.
It's so
Small world stuff,
I
right?
had such a moment of joy using that sink. I
But
really,
that sink, the sink is crazy, so. It's one of those sinks that's long and flat, right? But then there's pull chain, almost like an old commode. But you're thinking. Do I pull them from water? And then there's just a chain that comes down in the middle, and you can spigot.
and it goes like all, it's like a high ceiling like this, and
Yeah.
it goes all the way up to the top. And when you turn.
And then the
it
chain
on-
comes all the way down from the top.
Yeah, and when you pull on one of the handles, the water comes all the way down the chain, and you wash your hands.
It's crazy,
It was beautiful.
yeah. She's like.
Is the chain stainless?
Some kind of metal, yeah.
Practicalities.
Yeah.
Is it stainless? Is it rusty? Like what?
It wasn't stainless steel, it was like a darker metal.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what it was, but it wasn't.
So it was on its way to rust.
But we do have hard water here too. So.
Well, that's in Denver. Denver has really good water.
I'll do it.
It's all treated with fluoride and.
I don't know, we have good water down there, I love the water, and it tasted good, it wasn't hard water. But anyway, I don't even have hard water at my house. I don't think I do.
I cannot drink the water out of the faucet, it has to be filtered, it tastes like dirt.
Sometimes the water in my sink, every once in a while, I won't like the flavor of it, but normally it's okay. Normally,
Christian will argue with me about that, he says the water tastes great,
I think the water tastes good here.
Me
or
too.
not Christian, Chris. No,
Yeah, I love that water.
I don't like
I
it.
do too.
But I grew up here, so.
Used to it.
That's all I know.
Never had.
Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it has a weird taste to it, but it's
Right.
very infrequent.
I've got a filter on mine, so I just drink the filter water.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a filter in my fridge, but
yeah.
I'll drink the tap water without regret.
Well, I guess Alex is not coming. 6:00.
6:03. I texted them, he hasn't got it.
What about Kathleen?
Kathy is there, so,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
yeah, she said just a little cold.
I'm sick of all those.
So do we, I guess we don't need a form, do we?
No.
No. But also you do have one, so.
Okay, we call the Georgetown Planning Commission meeting to order Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, 6 P M. Can I get a roll call?
Georgia Kofa,
Here?
Jake Cooper,
Here.
Bruce Shane,
Here.
Chris Sanford, here, Christian Dixon, here.
We don't have any agenda items. And we're just discussing comprehensive plan review, a place where people live. You wanna give us a report on that?
So, the planning commission, in the comprehensive plan is from 2016. Okay. And all of you created a schedule for us to review sections of that comprehensive plan that was created in 2016. The first place that we chose to focus on was a place where people live. And other parts of the plan is called livability, so I might switch how I reference it in this particular report. The comprehensive plan section, place where people live, focuses on creating a vibrant and sustainable community for residents in Georgetown. Some of the particular areas that I identified as being important to look at are a lack of adequate pedestrian and bicycle trails, a lack of recreational opportunities for youth and senior population, so intergenerational recreation. Wanting to enhance public spaces, including sidewalks and public areas in town. And then the impact of short-term property rentals on the rental and home buying markets in Georgetown. So in 2021, the planning commission conducted a review of some of those actions. That review can be found later in the packets, Exhibit B. There's also areas in the Georgetown Municipal Code. All of them refer to livability. Every part of the code is about making sure that Georgetown is a nice place to live. Some places that I highlighted, if you feel like looking at them, are health and safety, public peace, moral and welfare, streets, sidewalks, and public places, public services, and then of course, what you guys live and breathe is chapter or title 17 land use code. There are some projects coming up in the future. Not all of them are for sure happening, but just some things that are percolating right now. Argentine North, which you know about, hopefully, Cindy Neely has been working really hard on that project, so it'll be connecting the roundabout to 22nd Street with the sidewalk and eventually a bike path.
That they won't use.
I'm sorry, is this going from the roundabout where?
To 22nd Street, the lake.
Okay, oh, okay. And it's on the west side of the street? Where was the sidewalk gonna be?
It's on the east side, east side. The bike path will go on the left side.
That's right, okay.
I'm sure you're all familiar with the Strauss Park update, so it's been really exciting. Bob Hamilton is gonna be finishing that up this year, I believe. He actually thinks that most of the stonework in the actual park is gonna be finished by Memorial Day, so that'll be really exciting.
Looking hard out there right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah. They lost last week due to weather, but they're working quick, so.
Looks like the weather's opened up pretty well.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't even terrible, like this weekend was pretty good, actually. Yeah, so there were some changes made to Strauss Park that some of you might be familiar with. They're adding a couple stall areas that are more permanent, like the concession area, if you're familiar with that. So they've put some concrete pads out there. They're gonna be building up those sections to make permanent countertops. They're adding some storage space for the landscape drip line and infrastructure. Bob wants to add some electrical outlets, stuff like that. And then there's also a private donor who's funding some like historical info placards in that breezeway area. He's also working on improving the parking lot, the Strauss Park parking lot. So the board last night discussed different ways to pave it with like gravel paving or something like that. We discussed pulling the big tree out that's in the Strauss Park parking lot, but it is alive. And Parks and Rec and Business Promotion voted to keep it, so the board of selectmen also wanted to support that decision. And so that tree is gonna stay, they're not gonna take it out and expand the parking lot. And
This is the parking lot right behind Strauss Park, where they, right next to the apartment building.
yes, exactly. And
I
then
don't know any like trees over there.
I can't remember.
it's a big, tall,
Which end of the
spruce, it's
park?
an evergreen.
Is it
The
right,
east side.
is it right in the middle of a grass pasture right up against the building?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's part of the parking lot, it's kind of raised a bit, and there's like a lawn area with a picnic table and stuff right there. And then, you know, there's some concrete work going around the bathroom there for drainage and for accessibility purposes. And yeah, so all of that, some planters around the edge, so they're gonna look really nice. It's gonna look great. I'm really excited. Bob just does great work and I think it'll look really nice. So that's going with Strauss Park, historic Rose Street sidewalk restoration. This is a very early stages, so don't take this too seriously, but there are funding opportunities with no, sorry, the Department of Local Affairs, but it's not GOLA. There's a grant opportunity, I'm blanking on who the organization is that provides it, but they have grants up to $250,000 that we could apply for, to make better sidewalks. It's like a 10%
So we're not
match.
gonna be forcing, residents to pay for that then.
Well, again, very early stages of thinking about that, so I wouldn't take, like Bob is right now putting together, like, how much will this cost in total, and
So what is it that we're doing?
great question, there's a flagstone sidewalk that goes from downtown to City Park.
Yeah,
And what we're interested in doing is restoring the historic sidewalk. So making it flagstone, that's always been a sidewalk for a long time.
so
And
keeping the flagstone sidewalk, but
Yes.
making it flatter.
yeah, making it nice.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of broken things there. But we've got to figure out the scope of that project, and then we have to find the money for the match. It's a 10% match, which is pretty, it's a good bang for your buck, $1 or 1 to 10 to 100, there you go. So for every $10 we get 90, which is pretty awesome, so,
for every $1 we get, they give us 100.
yeah. So we spend 25,000, we get $250,000.
Okay.
Pretty good, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's something we're thinking about. Recess Factory. Their partnership with us has given us access to their. It's called the the Zamboni.
yeah,
So as far as like public recreation and creating better spaces, the lagoon became an ice rink for the public, which is a really cool public space. So, hopefully we can partner with them to make other public spaces nicer in different ways. Something that, and I'll go into some of it, Beth Luther was giving me a rundown of some of the projects that I mentioned later in here. And also some other projects that she's interested in doing later that she went over with you guys a bit in the parks review. Anyway, there's lots of opportunities, basically, lots of things that people are thinking about. And I think Recess Factory, if they're here all the time, has an interest in, maybe helping us build like a park/parking lot that they could use for their events. They might be able to help fund that a little bit. Just think of it. And then Lakeview Flats development, part of that deal is that they're supposed to build a trail along the lagoon there, so that'll also be part of the trail connections, which is,
Lakeview Flats development, are you talking about Bighorn?
yes, sorry, Bighorn, the name now is Lakeview Flats. So
Trail on the,
west side.
west side, yeah.
Well, they had already agreed to make that trail during the, and what was that, 3 months ago during the, forest land meeting?
Yeah, I think it had been something they agreed to a long time ago. We just reiterated that we still want that next week to build it, so we'll see what happens with that.
Are they gonna pick up building where the empty lot is that was used for parking for the hockey tournament? I think they were gonna develop there at one point and maybe just.
Not right now. There's no development happening there at the
Got
moment, I don't think, so. Lot 5 is being developed. Which I'm sure you don't have all the lots memorized, that'd be crazy of you, but.
where's the sidewalk gonna go? Like from Cabin Creek south?
The Lagoon Trail,
Yeah.
I
Oh, is
don't.
that what we're talking about here? The trail on the west side is the lagoon trail?
Mhm.
Okay,
It's like in between the condos and the lake.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, because the town technically owns the whole border around the lake.
We don't own the whole border. Kurt Sukup does own some of the lagoon borders.
Okay.
And I think he don't quote me on this, I don't know this exactly, but I think that he's giving us portions of that, so after.
Trip.
He's supposed to do it,
Okay.
so he's supposed to develop that. I think there's a trail that exists already at Cabin Creek that he's connecting it to, but I'm not 100% about that.
More or less of one.
I want my daughter in there, it's more like just the maintenance, the life.
Yeah, it's like
It's gonna
a
be an
same
area.
money mess.
Yeah,
No, it does connect with that trail, it goes through, I don't know what the green belt's called, you know, where that bridge is and.
I think it's called the Greenbelt Trail, so
The
you
Greenbelt.
know, or,
So if you're saying that it's just a murky, muddy mess, is that something that's kind of included in this agreement is to actually make it like a walkable trail, so to speak? Or just to kind of make a.
I think he's supposed to make it DG, I think it's supposed to be
Okay.
DG, so, which is, thank you,
what is it?
decomposed granite,
Okay, yeah.
so something like that, that's like actually.
Kind of like a,
I was just curious.
it's like the old school track that was sitting around football fields or
Yeah.
in high schools
Right.
before they started making them rubber.
Yeah, but we'll see what that looks like at the end of the development, so.
Yeah, whole development's been taking its time to say the least, so.
Yeah, some other important updates. Bob Hamilton brought to the board last night some light fixture, like a light fixture proposal to get some of those fixed. And I think lighting is an important feature of trails that make things in the town walkable at night. Okay, and then I went and chatted, like I said, with Beth Luther. And took a bunch of notes. So. Yes, okay. So, you know, a lot of the notes exist on here already, the trails. Getting all of those trails connected, completing the proposed trail linkages, a lot of that has been done, the Greenway loop was something she mentioned. And then Sinning and the Argentine South project, which is 11th Street, or the road, no. Yeah, so that. Does that go from the roundabout all the way to?
Mindset.
No, the
That's the
South
more.
project, the one she finished already. Does that
It
go
went to 6,
6, does it
the
go
sidewalk
from,
on Argentine.
but it's not all the way to the road, to the roundabout, is it?
Yeah,
Is it?
it is the east side.
It stops there by the bridge.
11th Street?
By that park, across from Alpine Inn.
Oh, the pizza park.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought we were talking about Argentine.
So there's a sidewalk that goes all the way down to the.
On the,
Right.
Yes, I'm sorry, on the
Yes.
east side, I thought you were talking about the west side.
No, the east side, that sidewalk
Yes,
goes all the way.
yes, the east side goes over here.
Okay,
The sidewalk or the bike path?
the sidewalk goes all the way on the east side.
the new sidewalk that kind of goes along. On the west side, it's just like a brief second between where you go to
It's
the.
going
To the train,
nowhere.
yeah, I've used it, my dog likes it because my raccoon's hiding in the rocks.
That's fine. So, yes, and then, you know, there's always work. I mean, Kevin's always working to make things better, but she said that that is. The Greenway Trail has been improved, Argentine has been improved, the Lake Trail, you know, we got that one to loop all the way around now, so that one's been improved. And something that Beth is hoping to do is improve signage so that people are clearer about where the trails and the parks are in town.
It'd be nice if we could get some signage about the bike path, so the bikers would stop riding down the middle of Argentine.
Mhm.
But that probably wouldn't work either, because they're inconsiderate.
It's completely legal for them to.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Why
Central City tried to do that, and they lost the state Supreme Court thing for that.
what's the point of having a bike path? if
It's
they're
not
gonna
even a
ride
bike path, it doesn't even go anywhere.
Doesn't it, you can ride it all the way up to Silverland.
But how do you, where do you get, how do you get to it without riding on Argentine?
Well, they have the right to be in the road, that's the bottom line for site
Right.
bicyclists, which is a whole nother thing, but they shouldn't
I
be in
just
the middle
don't,
of
I
it.
just don't understand why are we building a bike path if they're not gonna use this?
So bike paths are intended for biker safety, and so it's better for them if they ride the bike path, and it's better for traffic as well, but legally.
They're never gonna do
Of course do, but they
Well,
should.
some people do, little kids do, and it kind of depends on the rider. You know, like these big speed riders that come through, they're gonna be on the road, they're supposed to be over on the right, and then they're gonna get on a bike path, you know, to go to Silver Point or something like that, I mean,
Right.
what are you gonna do?
I lived in a bike city before here, and the rivalry between vehicles and bikes will never die, so.
Never.
Yeah, there will always be inconsiderate cyclists, and there will always be inconsiderate drivers. Yeah.
So what, when you spoke about lighting, where is this lighting going, Kenisha?
So Bob wants to be fixing the lighting that already exists on Argentine. Cindy Neely, as part of the Argentine North project, would be installing light posts.
All the way, so it's all the way.
Mhm.
And this is a total aside, but has anybody ever talked about keeping little white lights up downtown all year? You know, it looks so pretty at Christmas.
Yeah, someone actually mentioned that to Jen.
The BBC has talked a lot about it in the past.
Okay, is there an issue or an
I mean-
expense or?
Some people were for it, and some people weren't, you know,
Oh, okay. I just,
it's something that could be brought up again, I mean.
yeah, it's just more of a cute thing, but it just looks so nice,
Mhm.
not a big deal.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you.
There are, the design review commission does have feelings about what they consider temporary lighting. So any permanent lighting would just need to be very carefully considered with the design and the dark sky compliance requirements. So, you know, string lights like that can be a little difficult with the dark sky compliance kind of stuff.
Okay,
But they were gonna come up with different ideas, like putting little lights in the sidewalk or whatnot, I mean, there's different.
yeah,
ways
you
to
can
go
always
about it.
sell them on YouTube or something. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
I
you.
love string lights too. I think they're really pretty. Yes, okay, and then number 2, that one has been complete, and actually they've done 2 different trail brochures. There's a new one that they just released, so that's been done twice now. Work with Parks and Rec Commission to fund, prepare, and adopt a Parks and Rec master plan. That's been done. Number 4, work with CDOT and pursue funding to design and construct a new park and playground in the lagoon area that's proposed for dredging. So I asked her about that. There are basically 3 areas around the lagoon that she identified as being sort of part of this concept. So one of them would be a playground, like an actual playground near the warming hut, if you're familiar with like that parking lot area. And then the southeast part of the lake, having a park area, and actually not the lake, the lagoon, the southeast part of the lagoon. And in that area, also adding like a boardwalk in the marshy area, so you can have a proper trail and walk around there and not.
The
be
one in
stuck.
Evergreen? You can see the one in Evergreen by the lake, there's like a trail through the marsh and occasionally you'll see wildlife there.
I haven't seen that, but probably, yeah. Yeah, it sounds correct, so.
Has there been anything for like another, we had Orland Park is a designated off leash area for dogs, something closer down that way? For people that live in condos and the more dense housing that way, while we're talking about all these parks and everything, don't know if that's something that's been thought about or brought up, like another designated area for off leash down there.
I know there's an unofficial spot, Jen, I think knows more.
Well, they were gonna have that in the Bighorn, that was part of like their plan to have this big park in that area that's undeveloped now, you know?
Would it be just for residents of that development or?
I mean, it's not gonna happen now anyway, but I'm just saying they were planning for it.
Oh, so they were planning, but it's not gonna happen now.
Because they're not building out that big second vacant lot area, they decided to change their plan.
Somebody told me that below the dam, there's like, it's not an official dog park, but it's an unofficial off-leash dog area, that lots of people just go down
I
there.
think it's unofficial because everybody does.
Yes,
And
well, it's also
if
not.
you
for-
read that, if you read that sign, it's not one of the rules
Ah.
on the sign.
Oh, the dam, what?
Like,
Yeah,
you know, the
I know.
wastewater treatment plants.
Oh, I know where that is.
Past the lake,
Right.
that's actually not part of town either, that's.
There's a park over there?
There's the Alvarado Open, you're talking about Alvarado Open Space?
I haven't been down there, but I think so.
That's way past that.
That's about a half a mile.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that's all clear green open space down there.
So that would be part of town, that's another one I've heard talk about,
I mean, that's not like really walking distance to what he was referring to.
right, not more convenient necessarily.
Yeah, people that live in dense housing, they have a place that they can take their pets and off leash and play and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Beth was telling me we have 12 parks, which is very impressive for a town that's only 1 mile long, so. But she wants to, another thing that she wants to work on is commissioning a map of all of our parks. So people actually know where they are, because some of them, like, everyone knows about City Park, maybe, and Whirland Park. And, you know, Strauss Park, Kennedy Park, but like Pizza Park, like, I didn't know about that one really. And-
I would go about it until they said.
Yeah.
Somebody's yard.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of,
I'm like, is it called Pizza Park because it's across from the Mountain Buzz?
now it's former pizza.
not a pizza park anymore.
Mountain Buzz is.
And then there's Triangle Park. There's the, yeah, I don't even know what all of them are.
Triangle Park's actually pretty nice. It has like kind of corked ground for kids, so you can launch off the swings and land in that. Or whatever it's.
The Greenway, she wants to do, you know, like a bike trail through there and like a bike technical skills area and, actually, she has some interesting ideas for Whirlwind where, you know, not get rid of the, you know where the hockey rink was?
And they have partition off
Right,
between baseball, hockey,
exactly.
baseball in the summer, hockey in the winter, and then golf like this.
So, her original idea was to put like a shallow concrete, almost like a pool. And then in the winter, you fill it and that's the ice rink. You don't have to put a liner in there every year. And then-
Where?
Where the ice rink was.
Yeah, in the dog park. Where the ice rink is?
Like a pool people can swim in?
No. But you fill it with water in the winter, so it's an ice rink, and then in the summer, you leave it empty and people can skate in there, was her idea.
Skateboarding would be, people need a place, or
Well-
rollerblading kids do.
Would it be fenced off so that dogs can go in
I
there?
think it'd be the same as the ice rink was this year, how it was partitioned. I mean, that's kind of a pipe dream at this point in time, but I think it's a cool idea, especially because the town does spend, you know, a couple grand putting up that temporary ice rink, so.
So like digging out the hole and just having just a permanent pond there, or like a dog already swimming in it.
Do you wanna be?
No, it'd be partitioned off all year, because in the summer it'd be for skating, and then in the winter it'd be an ice rink, so.
So that you're.
Oh, it would just be an empty bowl is what you're saying.
Mhm.
Right, for this, up for the skateboarders.
Or you leave the water, you let the ice melt, leave the water and dog.
Yeah, I like that idea better.
Ooh,
They're-
a dog.
She's already talking about building a skate park somewhere else.
I think
It
that,
was down by the tennis courts.
yeah,
Wasn't
the
it
tennis
down
court,
by-
it's already.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so
Well, someone who has dogs that love water, I
Yeah.
also pro dog water park.
I think, I feel like.
Might not do.
I feel-
It's like very second half.
I
We
feel
don't
like
care
if you
about
could dig a
the
pond,
dogs.
leave it as a pond in the summer and let your dogs swim in it.
So with standing water, then you have to worry about mosquitoes or something?
You also heard about, yeah, like, making sure that it's being filtered.
Like a clear, like, little,
Yeah.
yeah. There's some aeration in there.
You just throw a tablet party in there.
Now that we have the Zamboni, would it make sense to even really put up that ice rink at Moreland Park? If we can now turn the
Yeah.
area and things like that into a public skating rink?
He's got a good point.
Jess brought this up to someone and I don't remember. I remember that there was a good reason that we're keeping the small one, but I don't remember what it was, so.
So from my experience, it was good for kids and younger people that weren't prepared for like going on quite the lake yet. It was a bit of a stepping stone for more younger girls, intermediate stuff, yeah.
Right,
That's just what I heard
See
from
that.
people out there.
Yeah.
okay.
And it's a little more accessible, because it's in the middle of town, not that, I mean, the whole town's only a mile, so nothing is really that far, but. Yeah, there was a really, really compelling reason that Jess mentioned, and I wish I remembered what it was.
Right, well, I was just curious, because you know, the pond hockey and everything was so big down there this year. And if we do have the access to the money to kind of flatten things out on the lake there, it kind of makes sense to use the resources that we have naturally.
Well, and the hockey tournament's coming back.
Right.
Yeah, that's gonna be huge for the town too.
Yeah, so that's number 4, some playground and area stuff. Number 5. Oh, okay, so when I read number 5 and talking to other people about it, my understanding of it was like building a center here that was part of CCMRD, but
That's never gonna happen.
Beth was telling me that's not what they were thinking about. What they were actually thinking was just having CCMRD affiliated classes in the community center that they rent from the community center. So just improving that accessibility.
Well, they already do that. They had the, first aid, CPR class at the Pew Center, and then, because it took it, they do that, they do have CCRND or MRD, what's the name of it? Yeah. They rated classes at the Pew Center already.
Right, so just improving that and maybe putting some more exercise equipment in there.
I think that would be great.
I was like, that seems very doable.
And places for yoga or Pilates classes, places for that, I think that would be really helpful for this town.
Mhm.
See, if we could just get a gym here, that would be great.
That would be great, actually.
It'd be great, but that takes a lot more funding, infrastructure,
Like,
investment,
where do we put it?
and membership and space and all that stuff, so.
Well, aren't we building another town hall?
We're trying to add, build a town hall adjacent, like in this parking lot.
So have the gym in the town hall.
What happening to this building if we're building another town hall?
This will still be, well, I mean, none of this is for sure, we don't have a design necessarily, but this would still be a public building, so.
Here you go.
Our police department would be moved back here probably,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh,
We'd have town hall and a space that people don't have to walk up the stairs to get into, but this space could be used for,
whatever.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to shoot down your ideas, actually, Jim, great idea, we can think about that, so.
Hmm.
I was being a Debbie Downer, I don't wanna shut you down, actually, if you have ideas, so.
Well, with all this, the area down by the lake is just prime for building something, so.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know, I'm just throwing darts to the board now, but like, something like a Strauss Park down by the lake.
Community area.
Yeah, so like when we have the pond hockey tournament, there's more of that infrastructure already set up.
Mhm.
And you could like double that up as like creating species or something that be really fun.
Yeah,
They can use that lagoon area.
What's that?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, the lagoon area that they just created could be something like that.
Yeah.
But then you're competing with downtown.
Wasn't much of a competition. They already had all.
There was nothing going on down there. They
Exactly.
thought there was going to be, but there wasn't.
Exactly, because I don't think people knew how to get here, there wasn't a way
No,
to
they
come
had-
down here, that's the problem.
The whole party was down there. by the way.
Exactly.
Setting something up like that, you can take the vendors from town and take them down to the lake.
Right.
I think that you have
You
to,
can-
because
Yeah,
that's-
people are gonna leave the lake area.
Yeah.
And even
Right.
Scooter, even Tyler, just with scooters, he's set up down there and he was even serving food out of Cabin Creek. And I mean, Craig needed him to do that, so.
Yeah, he did,
Because it was just too much for him to handle.
I know, it was huge.
So, I mean, so I think with an event like that, you almost have to have what he's talking about. I mean, even if it's just temporary booths, like tents, stuff like that,
Mhm.
that worked out pretty well. But, yeah, I mean, that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Something Jess is dreaming about is like a venue, so you have a auditorium kind of space where people could play music or have events that are more auditorium style theater stage kind of space.
I just feel like most of the year, like all of our events are held here.
Mhm.
And that one event that we now have is down there. So I just feel like having a Strauss Park type of deal down there.
Mhm.
I don't know, like, we would have to have more events down there
You
to utilize something like that.
You would, for the financial balancing, right? But there
Right.
certainly could be temporary stuff to
Well,
give it
like
a
I was
go and see
saying,
what
you
happens.
talked about day use, people can rent it out, they can reserve it and have a spot to do. Set up like their family barbecue or something.
Well, and that's a whole different thing, yeah, what other uses can it be for, and how else could it be used, there's all kinds of things, yeah.
Well, I think it'd be good to also do, like maybe the reward ceremony or, even some stuff up here towards Strauss Park, kind of drag some of that business up into downtown Georgetown. Yeah, cause I mean, that would be one more event that could bring in business downtown
You
Georgetown.
could bring some of it, you're not gonna bring 5,000 people downtown, but at least you could bring some
Well,
to help these people.
in general,
I think, something that we've talked about this a lot as staff is, there's events downtown, we're not trying to drag people down to Cabin Creek.
No, yeah,
Like Cabin Creek has an event down by the lake, it's a lake event, that's an event that he's really benefiting from, I think bringing vendors down there makes more sense than trying to get everybody up. the road.
I think
I don't think everybody's gonna come up here, but having some things in some ways for people to know the whole town.
Right,
I think it's important, that's what the comment from the businesses here.
Right, and people that are down there for the pond hockey tournament aren't gonna wanna buy shit from the auction.
And they may,
Or from the candy store,
they may
or
want ice cream,
from,
it'd be good.
they might find a.
well, and something that, because we have so much more time to plan, we're
Right.
thinking about making sure the shuttle is a little more visible to come to downtown. People will actually be staying in Georgetown as opposed to staying in Silver Plume, I'm sorry,
Silverthorne.
Silverthorne, gosh,
Yeah.
and Dillon. And, we're talking to like Easter Seal and,
Yeah.
so they'll actually be more acquainted with.
well, yeah, they have a lot of lodging too, that Easter Seals does, and that time of year, they don't have anybody. They don't have their camp going on, so
Right,
that's something I don't think was utilized for,
no,
the people during the people that need places to stay.
right.
And I think that's
The
something.
2 week turnaround is a little too tight
And
for
the
that, but.
adventure center down there has some lodging too.
Yeah, yeah,
That
just
was
shut
shut down, so that could be, I heard they shut down, didn't
The Adventure Center? I think they just reopened today, didn't they?
I think it's seasonal.
Yeah, but that maybe you could situate something with them to at least use their lodging.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this has.
Yeah, that's all stuff that Jess is thinking about and that Recess Factory is thinking about.
She needs to get in touch with Bill Joe, I have his number directly, we had a wedding there, so.
She's not, so.
In general though, like, when you come in the roundabout,
Mhm.
to have signage with maybe like a picture of Sixth Street and roads to let you know what's down that way, like with the big arrow
Jess
going.
got rid of the signage that was a picture of Sixth Street, so,
Really?
yeah.
Well, I was thinking like that's a good way for people that are coming into town to know that there's more that way and what
Yeah.
is down that way.
That's a big discussion that's been happening for a really long time.
Yeah, our Georgetown signs, people just drive straight at them, like down here where the loop road splits from Arlington. They'll
Right.
drive straight at that sign, read it, and then all of a sudden they'll turn one way or the other. So
Yeah.
might be a good idea to figure out a way to have some more obvious signage maybe.
Yeah.
Kevin Kuharik with the Business Promotion Commission has been working, all of the Business Promotion Commission is working on it, but Kevin's sort of spearheading it.
Also,
They have a signage schedule and then we have to pay for them, so it's like they're paying for the most important signs. We just redid the one right when you come in by the roundabout. And I believe the next one they want to focus on is actually the Georgetown, the big arch sign, like improving that one, putting better lighting and stuff on it.
Georgetown signage is really tricky for placement because the entrance to Georgetown, people stop at the roundabout because they don't know where they're going, they don't know how to use a roundabout, and they're looking for signage. And it causes traffic and it can possibly cause wrecks. Because people that live here, they're coming into town knowing where they're going, and they get people that don't live here, they're like,
that's a very short.
stop at the roundabout, because they don't know how to use a roundabout, because they've never seen one,
Maybe,
or they're looking, trying to figure out, where do I go?
maybe we put a little image with a sign and map on every pond of the Circle K.
Yeah, Circle K will fence.
We should start paying, how there's like ads on gas stations now?
Oh, yeah.
At the Georgetown.
I mean, it'd be nice if we can get all the visitors into the visitor center to let them know this is where you need to stop first to go
in either direction.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then Suffolk County on the radio station, they have roundabout etiquette, so they teach you how to use the roundabout while you're listening to the radio.
I love it when I see people go, I love it when I see people go in the roundabout properly, when people don't go in there, I'm just like,
That's
I
roundabout.
mean, the simple sign could be town light,
yeah.
Yeah.
just something simple, and maybe let lights on the roundabout. That thing is so dark at night, it looks terrible. You know what I mean? It should be cute, it should be like, oh, you're here.
Those good at Christmas.
Oh, it looks
Yeah, I
so
know.
good, I love it.
The whole town looks great at Christmas.
It looks fabulous.
Look
And it looks fabulous. It does. Very inviting.
Yeah.
People love it.
Yeah,
And they love to come see it and they love to take pictures and everything else.
Another signage thing you put like at the lake for funding, it's like a QR code for people to donate. You know, a lockbox with cash, we find out what's stolen.
yeah.
Actually, Parks is exploring that option. I haven't been to a meeting with it, but the last meeting I went to, they were talking about ways, because people are always trying to donate to the parks.
Yeah.
And QR code to a Venmo account would be super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're trying to, I think Beth is trying to set that up with Mary.
And you can be like, hey, if you hate parking on the dirt lot in front of Tavern Creek, give us money, maybe it'll be paid one day.
Yeah. That's another project, and again, very, very early stages, but we put in a couple requests for capstone projects with students, at the various universities. Beth has a couple in, I put a couple in. One of the ones I put in was a parking study down by the lake to see, you know, how people feel about paid parking. It, you know, paid parking.
Hey, isn't that something we talked about in the last meeting?
I don't remember.
We did, I think we did talk about paid parking down on the lake, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about like the
I think
collections agency that you have to hire.
Yeah, I think it's a
Right, we
great
did,
idea.
we did.
I think the paid parking down by the lakes, some, and
Well,
you,
we did
if
the
you
same.
live here, you'd have a sticker.
And if we did the same one, well, this is again, just dreaming, but if we did the same one that Idaho Springs uses, anyone in Clear Creek County already gets free parking in Idaho Springs. So,
What?
yes, you can
And the whole
register.
county is, you can register for.
How do you do that? Because I've been paying in Idaho Springs.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just signed up for residents.
Yep, anyone.
Wow.
Hold on.
I still got a ticket, but they,
I still got a
I did, but they gave me email with the guy, and he's like, oh, you're good, you put both my cars in there, and I haven't had any since.
So wait, I have to go on a website to register mine in Heather's car?
Yeah, you go on, it's on, you can't even get on that.
Somebody send me this dang website, cause I had, we've been paying.
It's the Idaho Springs website, the city of Idaho Springs.
Okay.
Man. I've been paying too.
What the heck?
Well, donating.
I'm sure they appreciate your donation, so.
I
yeah,
want a
if we had the
refund.
same- If we had the same one up here, then everyone in Georgetown would then be registered for Idaho Springs and here, so that could be cool too.
Are you saying that?
You know, we
Fine,
should
fine, I will.
even make some of the prime parking gear paid essentially, because during the summer.
That one's for-
They don't advertise that crap on their signs, do they?
What?
About. if you're-
No, I don't think so, I don't remember.
No,
Because I pay all the time, because I always forget.
I mean, I
forgot,
didn't
I
know.
only register.
I only found out because their assistant town administrator was like, yeah, you don't pay through Clear Creek County, and I was like, what? And he's like, just send me your card, I'm like, oh my gosh. So excited. So yeah, most people in Georgetown,
Yeah.
Huh?
but to anyone in Clear Creek.
Beth?
Okay, yeah, so we were on community center classes and equipment, so I do think that that's something that is extremely doable and might just take connecting the right people, because if CCM already has teachers that are willing to teach, I'm positive the community center isn't gonna be upset about renting a space out to them. That benefits them, we benefit Georgetown people, if people attend that boosts CCMRD's membership as well, so just sort of a win-win across the board, we can get that going, so that's something I'm hoping that we can push the right people to talk to the right people to get the right things going, you know, collectively. Okay, 6, inventory sidewalk conditions and fund improvements, so you know, that Rose Street project is one that we're thinking about, specifically. But there's, you know, lots of sidewalks that don't exist or could be improved, so, historically, there aren't sidewalks in most of town, you know, and so that's something that we're not necessarily trying to change, but making it walkable, especially in commercial areas, would be a good thing. But like the 11th to 7th Street, that one's happened, that one, we did that one, so go sending you, she was amazing. And then the last one is monitor the effectiveness of the new short-term rental property ordinance and consider additional measures to reduce the impacts on short-term property as necessary. Consider a short-term rental property rental tax. So,
Isn't there something new going on with the short-term rental that they voted on with the, motorcycle?
yes,
That's the collection.
yes, so we were not, Airbnb was not remitting tax to the town, and so we passed an ordinance that mandates that the homeowner has to remit taxes to us, and Airbnb, you can deselect their tax collection. So they're not double paying necessarily, they're responsible for giving us those taxes to get that.
Just Airbnb, not VRBO and.
Well, all of them are responsible for paying us taxes. VRBO does remit that tax to us as long as that's happening. That's the allowed, right, Jen? VRBO can pay taxes to us.
VRBO, I believe they do, I don't, Mary would know for sure.
We're not requiring those homeowners to get the taxes back from VRBO and pay us directly, right? They're allowed to pay us through VRBO stuff.
Well, it says that the property owner is responsible for paying the tax. Was the new amendment to the ordinance. So. That was the change.
Okay, so they can't outsource that to VRBO.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking they couldn't because it's a property tax, right? So they have to pay it.
it's a lodging tax.
Yeah, but still, either way, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
so
a tax that Georgetown hasn't been receiving.
just from Airbnb, every other one that we're aware of has been paying us the correct taxes. Airbnb has been, they've been collecting and then not paying us.
So are we getting back taxes?
Yeah,
That is a complex unresolved legal question that I'm not.
So is it the homeowner who hasn't been paying?
No.
Airbnb doesn't pay the homeowner who doesn't pay us,
Airbnb is collecting taxes from the people who are renting,
by not reimbursing.
but not giving it to us, who
Okay.
they're supposed to be giving it to.
that sounds like,
That's.
It is.
It is?
that seems like a clear cut legal things.
So, The trouble is that we don't necessarily have access to, we don't know how many people are actually renting and from who and from.
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah.
So that
How do
audience
we even know?
is
Yeah.
difficult, which is why it's been kind of difficult to pursue, because we don't know how much money they owe us, so.
Yeah, and then, they have people coming back.
And I think,
But now Mary's updated the form where the people have to say, how many nights did you rent with VRBO?
yeah, so we are working.
But you rely on people being honest
Sounds
about
like a
that,
class
so
action
there's no
lawsuit.
requirement for people to tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, I guess there's a requirement that they tell you, but,
Payment.
Yeah, it's like,
Right.
I'm not the
Being
only
honest.
yeah, right.
That's
Well,
kind of true
really-
for everything.
That is true.
Sales
No,
tax.
it is for sure. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
it's
I-
figured out.
Really, no, the customer has no reason to lie about that, because they're not really paying them.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, they could be collecting tax and not remitting it themselves. so-
Right, homeowner's gonna have to pay that in the end, so, I mean, the
Well,
homeowner.
only if we know about it. So, they do have a reason to lie, but.
Yeah, because then they would just be holding on to it instead of Airbnb holding on to it.
Yeah, so you are relying on people to be a little honest.
I'm not sure how it falls under our purview. Maybe like when you down the road, we do the next plan or something. But one thing I'm surprised the town doesn't have is a non-conforming clause with the short-term rentals. Having something where like the DRC is involved in the process to make sure that a property that is a short-term rental is up to the standards of a historic town. That it fits the land use, it fits all the different things, that the DRC has a whole, you're familiar with the DRC books. And they talk about orientation of the street. Now, there could be properties, there are properties that have been given variances and board of adjustments and all this stuff. And they don't fit that character, but they're allowed to be short-term rentals. And I personally think that affects IDB character. Because they're letting these properties that don't quite fit these short-term rentals, when they should be fixing them up, that if we're gonna let something be a short-term rental, it should be a property that an owner has taken care of and maintained, that fits the guidelines of the DRC, that fits the land use codes, that doesn't have variances to not be a part of town, to be different, or something like that, so. And a non-conforming clause is something that I've seen in various different municipalities. And that's just if your property doesn't conform to the historic stuff of town or whatever, you can rent it out, but you can't short-term rent it out.
And is that to preserve like visitor perception of Georgetown or like
Yeah,
what's the idea?
To maintain our unique character. Because is somebody going to fix up a property and make it fit and, bring it up to the standard of the DRC, if they're allowed to just sit there and short-term rent it out? Where if you take that away from them and, hey, you wanna use this as a short-term rental, you gotta fix it up and you gotta bring it up in standards of the DRC before you run it as a business.
So you're thinking, I'm sorry, George.
No, I'm just thinking about this, I was thinking about this exact same thing, except relative to private property that's owned not necessarily as it's short-term rented out, that any property in town shouldn't be allowed to be derelict, right? That's one of the properties that we have for livability, it's part of what we want to preserve our character, we want this place to look really nice, so just theoretically, if the house was falling down, then you'd want to go to the owner and say, what's going on? This is not up to code.
And
This
we
is not
have an ordinance regarding that
Exactly.
demolition by neglect.
Exactly,
Well,
so that's
That's very,
different.
it's, yes.
But I like what you're saying.
Come derelict.
You're not gonna have revenue.
Yeah, I was saying.
Well,
No, there's two separate things, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is the concept is, there's a standard that you have to look like.
Yeah.
And that's what Bruce is talking about.
Yeah, I think.
And it's not a bad concept.
And have the DRC, because that's their bread and butter. That's what they do.
The only problem with DRC, they don't have teeth per
Right.
se, like if you own
We
your
do.
property.
We can pull your CO if you're not compliant with your certificate of appropriateness.
But isn't it more like if you buy a house and it is what it is, they can't force you to go like.
That's
change it
true,
back.
yes.
That's what I mean.
Pre-existing things.
Right, but if you
Yeah.
make
But
changes,
if
it
you-
has to
if you-
adhere to the,
Yeah,
that,
if you
that's.
build something,
you
you
can put a
don't
stop.
comply with the certificate of appropriateness, we can pull your certificate of
Right,
occupancy. If
okay.
you make a change to your house that's not compliant, we
Yeah,
can pull
yeah,
your certificate of occupancy.
I was just thinking of like somebody that buys a house
I don't think we've ever done that. but we
that had
can.
changes done to it in the seventies before.
Yeah,
And you can't go to them today and say that,
Right.
that needs to be a 4-foot picket fence instead of privacy
well, I
fence.
think that's kind of Bruce's point, is that in order to compel those homeowners to make the changes, to make them comply, you only allow homes that are compliant
Right,
To the
with the
DRC.
so
district.
that would be the
Right.
recommendation.
So if you wanna take your property and turn it into a business, you gotta make sure it meets the DRC guidelines first.
Right,
Now you can operate as a short-term
so
rental.
like, even if
So-
you didn't, even if you aren't the one to put up that privacy fence, you gotta take that down, and put a picket fence that adheres to the guy.
If it doesn't meet the DRC guidelines, and you want to now turn your property into short-term rental, before you do, it's not conforming, that's the non-conforming clause. You have to have your property conform with the DRC before you can turn it into.
Honestly, I kind of like this because this is one way to keep,
That'd be a lot more
People from-
potentially, if
Yeah.
you bought a house that needed new windows that adhere and, a door and a fence and all that would definitely go with twice about applying for it.
It also will stop a lot of people from having short-term rentals, right? Because they're not gonna wanna go through that.
Yeah.
So then you have to think through also,
well, then that would
Yes.
stop people that stop people from buying second homes here.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that would drive.
Well,
the
you can buy a
cost
second
down.
home here, you just can't, you're not.
Well, if they're gonna buy a second home here and not live here permanently, they're, you know.
You can long-term rent.
Well, I mean,
So exactly, yeah.
That's
Both ways. I do a lot of work in Airbnb homes for a lot of investors. and
Yeah.
people that own multiple properties, and a lot of these guys, with it being an investment property and making the money every single month, they really don't care what it costs to get it up to where it needs to be in order to you know, Georgetown is becoming, you know, as Summit County builds it more and more, will be becoming more sought after place for
Absolutely.
those investors and people who have Airbnbs, so. I think, you know, it would be more beneficial for Georgetown to focus on maybe coming with a different way to tax those Airbnbs to where they can't get around it just by saying, you know, we only spent one night here when they actually spent 4 or 5 nights in, you know, an area and avoided paying that tax, so maybe.
We don't know
Not
if
so
people
much.
aren't necessarily, that was just the hypothetical.
Right, well, it's a lodging tax, so people would have to be staying there in order to accrue that tax, correct? Or is it just like a yearly
Yeah.
tax that's
It's a sales
Fixed or-
tax.
It's 2% on,
whatever they sell?
2% per night, you know?
Right,
Yeah, or what they charge.
well, maybe taxing it maybe on like a fixed yearly rate on Airbnb to where it's. They're, you know.
We have a license, so they pay a fee for the license.
Which is very small,
$830 a year.
right, but they're making 10 times that,
Right.
right?
They're definitely making money. Yeah, the one
And
that's
that's,
doing it,
right,
have been doing it for a while.
yeah,
Well, I would say just a different way to tax it, to where, you know, if somebody's staying in that Airbnb or not, if that Airbnb is an Airbnb for 6 months, they get charged so much in lodging tax.
mhm,
Or, you know, maybe changing the way that they are taxed rather than if somebody stays there for a certain amount of nights.
so there's a limit, isn't there in Georgetown on what percentage of each neighborhood can be?
Yeah.
Short-term rental,
Yeah.
right, what is it, 7% or something?
Yeah, 7 for wards 2 and 3, and ward 1 is 5%.
Is this,
And then there's proximity limits, like you can only have 1 per block. Or you can only have like an apartment building, 1 per 6 units, 2 per 12. So there's
Okay.
stuff like that.
so there's some limits on how many,
We also have a max cap for the whole town,
right,
so,
which is something.
right.
I do,
I also, I'm sorry. go ahead.
oh, yeah, I would say the non-conforming. Well, I think you get that passed and actually. Enforce it, you'd end up with properties like Jamie's Rose Bed and Breakfast, more of those, which. Hers always does good business and it looks good. Like, if, that would be like, I would say the end goal, you have more properties that look like historic.
That add to our unique character.
It's just, I could see some challenges in actually. The enforcement part, so you have to go there every day and make sure, like, are you doing this and that?
I mean, it would actually just end up being part of the short-term rental application process. You would determine if the house is compliant
So you
or
just go walk,
with eligible.
check it out and be like, okay, you're.
Yeah, and which would be a lot of work up front because you'd have to do all of them. But then once you get that done, there's only so much changeover
That's
every year, so.
Again, I think that's outside of our purview, but just something to talk about there with the impact of short-term property values and ways to build on unique character.
It's not, because you guys are gonna get special use permits, like if people wanna convert something. To a bed and breakfast, you would get to look at that, which isn't short-term rental, but like, you know, that kind of. Thinking is definitely relevant to what you guys do, change of use, you guys will see
Yeah.
that, so, yeah, and then I do just want to caveat a little bit that, you know, we're on the. A place where people live section, so we're very focused on. You know, the people that live here right now, but the economy is another part of your responsibility, so just to also keep it in mind as far as like. You know, visitors and temporary lodging is a part of our economy, so you don't wanna kill necessarily.
You're gonna need that for the pop.
Right, right, and something, you know, like, someone mentioned to me that. The Masters in Augusta, what they do for that weekend,
Someone mentioned to you?
it wasn't Rick actually, so. I know, he loves the Masters, but it wasn't Rick, it was somebody else. What they do is for that weekend, anyone can have Airbnb, they don't have to have a license or anything. I don't think it would go over well here. I don't know, but, some people are interested in doing that just to open up space for that weekend.
I mean, anybody could go on Facebook Marketplace and say, hey, I've got a room for rent for the weekend, who's gonna stop them?
But you know, it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing, because you think like, maybe if you forced all the SDRs to fix themselves up and look really cool and historic, maybe. That would draw more, you know, well-to-do people here. that want-
Absolutely.
If
Yeah,
they spend more money, so it's like,
Absolutely.
maybe that would actually
Well, think about Vail, think about Aspen, think about all the charming places. When they're fixed up, granted, more people come, but they come as visitors.
Well, we don't want this place to look like Vail or Aspen.
No, we don't. But what I'm talking about is a cute factor, is a fix it up factor, is the character. What character are we wanting to say? What's our ambiance here? What are we gonna be? And I think that's what Bruce is pointing to and what Christian is saying. You know, right? You're talking about, hey, when it looks better, when it looks historic
Yeah.
Georgetown.
Might get somebody to stay here that wouldn't have.
We have
thought.
our own charm. We have our own charm. Yeah, we have our own charm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we wanna keep it looking historic, but at the same time, we also don't want it to look like,
Well, Disneyland or thing.
or we don't want it to we kinda like our dirt roads. We kinda like being able to, you know, be a little bit wild here.
Sure,
You know, that's kind of what Georgetown's.
but that is our characteristic. I think that's all part of who we are.
But yeah, and I think Bruce's idea of having them at least have to follow the RCR.
Right, and no, I agree with him on that.
I like
yeah.
that.
That would stop a lot of the riffraff from, you know, doing whatever the hell they want.
Now, do those extend past the historic Georgetown?
Yes.
Okay,
There's
a
guidelines.
book for each, hold on.
Go ahead.
There's a book for each part of them.
and they have different guidelines.
And there's actually only 2 books, so there are chapters. Huh? I'm sorry, actually, there's 3 books. The first book is just, what are we doing here? What is this about? And then the second 2 books actually have the guidelines. So the first book is the historic character areas, so residential, commercial, mixed use. And then the second book is the rest of them, which is Millside Meadows, Gateway, Commercial, Gateway, Mixed Use, Hillside, Industrial, the other ones. And they are, you know, like, they're more flexible down by the lake where stuff is newer and, you know, we're not trying to. They're very particular actually about even the historic area, if you're doing an addition or something. It should be distinct from the historic homes. You should be able to tell that it's newer, but it should fit the character of the area, so they don't like copies. They're very clear, they're very particular about like, it should fit, it should look historic, but not exactly. We should be able to look at your structure and know that this is a newer building, even if like some of the features are similar,
But
so,
it needs to look old at the same time.
yes. Yes, historic architecture, but distinguishable from the original building, so. Yeah,
So would that same thing follow suit in like Ward 3 where there's really not any historic buildings?
there are guidelines, but they're just not,
The modular homes that went down by the, you know, in
Right.
the apartment buildings, the Silver Plains, none of that really fits a historic.
no, well, they have different guidelines, so there's still, you know, there's,
The DRC has say in Ward 3?
yes. But I mean, it's not, again, there are a lot.
Not
it's
sure.
different.
Not
It's
strict,
not
it's
strict.
different, like Ward 1 or 2.
Exactly, the guidelines they wrote for Ward 3 are different than the historic character area. They don't expect you to have the same kinds of structures. They actually want it to look appropriate for the neighborhood, which might be a more modern architecture, so.
I mean, I don't think anything over there matches.
Nothing should match, appropriateness and matching is not.
It's all 70s over there.
A lot of it
70s,
is,
80s, 90s.
Well, and something that, you know, I got to learn a little bit about when I went to a historic preservation conference was there's this frustration in the community because we tend to think of, you know, Georgetown has a history of significance, right? Like a historic period of significance. That's what our National Landmark District is based on, which is like the 1860s through like the 1910s or something like that. And, but like history doesn't ever stop, you know, we have all this architecture that was built when the Olympics were supposed to be here, and that's like an important feature of our history. Like history is continuously happening, and it's frustrating to the historic preservation community because people get really stuck on one era. And then they don't think about how history keeps going, so, you know, we have structures that are pretty old, you know, but they're just not what we think of as historic Georgetown.
So maybe all of them were built for the Olympics, right?
Yeah, I mean, that,
Pretty much from Cottonville The lake.
I think all the Swiss architecture is really interesting, like the Alpine Inn, and there's some houses that have a very Swiss architecture, the chalet style. Yeah, I think that's like cool, it's fun, I'm glad that we have it, you know, but it's very different than obviously like downtown historic Georgetown. So. Yeah, I mean, you do have some real wacky ones that were built before the DRC existed, so, because I think they started in the 70s.
70.
Yeah. I'm bad at dates, so it's not one of my strong points. Yeah, so, okay, that was a good conversation. I am interested in what you guys. That you've given me a bunch of, you've given us, you talked about a bunch of things that you're thinking about as far as including. Like, what are some other things that you think are relevant to a place where people live, just as like, just keeping it in a conversation and in the forefront?
Affordable housing is one.
Yeah, after we run out of the third of people that don't live here, that own houses, so we can drive down the cost of.
Dense housing, more dense housing, and in areas that fits, obviously, you're not gonna put dense housing in the
No.
historic area, but down by.
But also part of
Yeah,
the
you really are.
importance of people who work here can live here, because that is becoming a problem, and that is a problem of a Vale and an Aspen and all those places, and we don't wanna have that. We do wanna be able to keep our community livable and have our character, so that the people who work here can live here, I think.
Actually, Beth Luther was talking to me about, which is, this is more her county role, not Carson Rec, but, there's a piece of land on the other side of the Family Dollar that I wanna say Laura Geisness owns, and she is interested in working with people to maybe get like micro units that are owned by, we're thinking about doing a multi-jurisdictional housing authority, but they'll be owned and managed by that entity and be workforce housing is sort of the dream.
For county, or for town.
I mean, you know, it's a pipe dream right now, but, you know, if we can get the multi-jurisdictional housing authority, that would be, we have representatives, or all of the towns would be funding it, so.
We can certainly apportion it too, saying like, hey, look, half of these to the county, half of these to the town.
Absolutely, would be micro homes.
Well, I think it would be managed by that multi-jurisdictional housing authority, but the people who live there would be. Just be whoever applied, the ones that live there, and then you would have capital A affordable, you know, like whatever the AMI dictates,
Would these be rentals or ownership or
rentals, I think,
micro homes?
micro units, yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, like small square footage.
How's it that Summit gets those deed restricted properties?
Right.
Like, where do those come from? Do they have to, does the county have to buy them and then?
I couldn't tell you anything about some.
They do them in Snowmass too, and they have them in,
Yeah.
for some, yeah.
Like, they have to be
So,
employed in county
Yeah.
banks or have certain.
teacher,
income
fire,
requirements.
something like that.
Right,
Yeah.
And you have to sell your land for more than 10%, we can buy it for that kind of
I was
thing.
thinking, even like the DRC buy, like the property came on the market.
the DRC has no money.
I wish they would.
DRC and very like.
But I think the town of Georgetown should do it.
Yeah.
That would be a project for the town of Georgetown to be able to control, like who's in here, okay, fine, we want Georgetown residents, then maybe we have somebody else help fund it. To get other
But
people.
that's part of that jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's in town, so, well, technically, anyone that lives there would be a resident, because that's how.
It's like the.
Okay, but
And then, all of them, there's like a historic home, they live in and work for the town, like.
Yes,
Have homes like that where you're an employee of the town, you can live in this home and maintain it,
yeah,
and you maybe pay a nominal fee to pay utilities, that kind of thing. But I just don't know how towns are acquiring properties like that. There's not that many, so.
I mean, but having. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of towns now, like, I know that. Somebody in Idaho Springs bought a hotel to house people in, I think actually that might be Silverthorne and Dillon that did that. But anyway, yes, people, there are now like industries up here that recognize that they can't hire anybody unless they provide them with housing. And that's a problem for the town as well, and it's something that I know Rick at least is interested in doing, but we don't have the funding for it, so, what Beth specifically is thinking about, which again, could be modified, and you guys are some great suggestions here, deed restricting it to have a certain amount of like, housing go towards the town or the county or, I don't know, people that are employed in Georgetown or something like that. What Beth is imagining is you have people apply and then they actually pay rent based on their income. So whatever money they're making, if they work at Cabin Creek, it's based on their income. If they work at the town, it's based on their income. So not restricting who necessarily gets to live there, but just making it capital A for people, for anyone in workforce housing. And then there would be the projects that I worked on in Davis that were kind of like that, you have a stratum so that you have some people paying, you have higher income people to fund that property. And then you have lower income people that are part of the program, like 10% or 50% or whatever, that pay less. And then the property can still function because they do have those higher paying renters. So I don't know if that's not what that's imagining.
Well, there's two ideas there, right? One is income based and one is deed restricted.
Right.
Yeah, so both could apply.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation.
And maybe there's some people in town that don't want to leave their homes or areas when they pass away, I don't know how you communicate this out, but like, hey, would you like to leave your home in town, in Georgetown?
That's
Um,
that was a thing in some places that.
kind of like,
It's a
out of
great
your
idea.
will or something. Cause there's,
It's a great idea.
And there's usually property tax breaks for people that do that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
especially when your home's expensive, which a lot of them here are. Yeah. I love that.
Well, just as a reminder, as staff, you can like direct me to look into particular things if you want me to. I can't do all of that probably, but there's something in particular you want to pull out of any of this conversation.
Are there grants for housing that small towns can apply for? So-
Absolutely. HUD is an entire federal department that's.
And HUD is income based, right?
Well, HUD is the Housing and Urban Development Department, so. I mean, I don't know the specifics of all of the loans
And that would be good to know about deed restrictions, like what are they doing in Snowmass, what are they doing in Frisco? How does that work to your question? Does the county buy it? Does the town buy it? Like,
yeah.
does somebody just buy it and then decide, oh, this is what I'm gonna do with it? I don't know.
deed restriction is something I know Lynette has talked about, but you have to have some kind of stake in that property, which we just don't right now. So like, we have some deed restrictions on Bighorn, actually those townhomes over there that were put in place by Kurt Suka and anyone that lives there. So in order to get rid of that, both of those parties have to agree, and the town might also have to agree. That's something we're working on right now to change that deed restriction. But if we owned land and then sold it, we could hypothetically put a deed restriction on it, so.
So I get conservation easement,
Or we can
it
be
runs
like,
with the land, right? I mean, that's how they're structured, but yeah.
yeah, I think it's kind of flexible, but I can look in the rest, I don't know.
I mean, the town has an ordinance that they just did like last year, the year before, where all new buildings has to have like 10% affordable housing. So they've been trying to do things like that.
So how does that work up here on Main Street?
On Washington Mill.
Remember all those new,
Oh, the-
$9 are up there?
Those homes
That
existed,
was before.
You mean on Biddle? Or are the two on?
Marvin Garden. I should have followed that, but that's the only name.
Marvin Gardens is a place down in Galveston.
Well, this is.
Also on the monopoly.
Wait, what?
It's all monopoly.
Oh,
but subdivisions like that would
But I
apply.
think the developer-
It was, right?
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
somebody asked me about that before too.
Well, because everybody's looking at that, right? Who's buying those?
Yeah.
You can't live here and work here and buy those.
That house. is
Mark,
seven.
so
Huh?
Marvin is living in one of them.
I'm sure.
Why, I know.
That's a perfect building, 10 houses, right? You get one. I want one.
Buy 10, get one free.
Now, that one house is like $1.6 million.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly, they generally made my property taxes go up.
Huh?
I said, I know exactly how much they sold for, and each one of them made my property taxes go up.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right
The
now,
good, the bad, the ugly, right? Yeah.
I never would have thought I would have seen the day that the house sold for $1 million in Roshan.
So I can look into deed restrictions. Do you want me to look into non-conforming clause?
Yeah. Why not? And HUD? Whatever kind of, yeah.
What about Habitat? I know that Habitat for Humanity does affordable housing,
That's
and people
really
get for Habitat homes and things like that, like they might be worth checking with them
Yeah,
and seeing if
I never
they're
thought about that.
multi-family units.
So I don't know that the town has the capacity to manage and do a lot of this housing stuff right at this moment. I can look into some of this stuff. I think the next step would be finding funding to get the multi-jurisdictional housing authority off the ground, because they are intended to have the capacity to be developing projects.
So let's learn more about that then, because I don't really know what that means. But why not learn about all of it? And then the more the merrier. We can learn about HUD, we can learn about Habitat, learn about jurisdictional, learn about, blah, 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 all the things.
I'll just look up, I'll do like a housing
Yeah,
in Clear Creek.
housing options and
Yeah.
everything. So if we look at the trends and issues for livability. I feel like the park discussion really went over trail connections, recreational opportunities, enhancement of public spaces. They kind of overlap perfectly, which was great. And then we just did short-term rentals. So the takeaway is this, so here's my question. Are we going to change any of this? Or are we just looking into, hey, what's been implemented and what hasn't, and we're going to make sure that what hasn't been done gets done? What's our charge?
So my understanding of how comprehensive plans work is it's like a very involved process. It's a big document that the whole community gets to participate and comment on.
Right.
So changing it, probably not.
What?
However, you take the goals that exist there, and then for any sort of applications that are coming in front of you, for anything you need doing research on, like something like the non-conforming clause, that's something that, you guys could recommend to the Board of Selectmen as like an ordinance change if you wanted to. That's something that you guys could pretty directly do. And so you look at that, you say, what can we do? What are our goals? And then when people come in front of you with an application, you have this in mind so that you can make the decision based on what the comprehensive plan is recommending.
So we're kind of updating these, seeing what's done, seeing what needs to be done, seeing what could be done. It's more that.
Yeah, and
Okay.
also, things like,
Okay.
like it talks about trails. It doesn't say which specific trails. We have new trails we can look at now.
Right.
So that kind of-
So it's organic in that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that kind of stuff can be updated if you, or like a particular park that you think there's a lot of opportunities to improve that. Signage, we had a long conversation about signage, that's something. Again, like planning commission doesn't have a budget, so you guys couldn't fund that directly, but.
With the money, yeah, we can do, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, if you know somebody that is great at sign design and they would do that for free, then you have it in your mind that you can make, or like the community center, CCMRD partnership, you have relationships with people that can make that happen, because that's more of a that's a handshake thing, that's not a. We would write that. we would
Yeah,
do
that's
it
trying to
facility,
make it happen.
Right.
So we have, oh, go ahead.
I would say I encountered a lot of people at Orland, that are not from Georgetown, sometimes not even from the county. Some limited amount of tasteful advertising would probably go a long way at Orland too. Like when it snowed the other day, brought my dog there, someone from Wheat Ridge drove up just to take their husky to the dog park playing snow.
Wow.
So, you never know.
We're the only place in the county that has golf. I
I
don't
didn't know
know.
that either.
Yeah.
Out of his friends?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was talking to a lady there from Empire that said they didn't. So
I just
maybe,
heard
maybe
nobody
they
knows
was
there.
but yeah, they were, I said,
It's behind the baseball field, it's
Is it?
small.
okay. Well, this got what he was saying, I've talked to people that said they come up from Evergreen, they come up from Ice Springs, because it's the only real nice dog.
There was one in Evergreen, but that would get shut down because.
Yeah, good. I remember that, that's a nice dog.
Three
park.
dog parks.
They got shut down because what?
Evergreen had, gotten them shut down because no one was picking up after their pets, so.
The dog food.
I don't think it's correct to say that Orland Park is the most popular dog park in the county, and people are coming from all over to go there.
Yeah, I think the county actually.
There's a fabulous
Is such a hazard.
Interesting.
Becoming called
When
that.
you say tasteful advertising, what do you imagine?
I'm not a advertising professional, I'm just saying like, people in the town might object to putting that up in a park that's in the historic section. So I'm just thinking something letting people to bring their dog there know you're supposed to eat here and.
That could be incorporated with the signage.
Right,
You know, we have these wayfinding stuff. And say, hey, restaurants, all that kind of stuff this way, that way it's not advertising, but it's pointing to people where things are.
Yeah.
Would
absolutely.
you be,
Go eat at 511 Rose, go eat at Cooper's, go eat at.
So we've done, well, and also the visitor center is great for that, events, I was just in there for the first time, I was amazed. The gift shop is great,
Yeah,
there's tons
pretty
of
cool.
information in there, we could even direct people to the visitor center, and some, other times you want more information, some it's just like, go to this, see what we're about, look at all our restaurants, check it.
For all of this.
It is, and it's nice to get.
So I think like, if you come that far, hey, it's
Oh,
another 3
Our
o'clock.
our wayfinding signs should have a list of all of our restaurants on it, and not just Cooper's.
Yeah,
It should have like
everybody,
all
everybody.
Yeah, I mean, well, that should be, if we were to do that, it should be kind of like an interchangeable thing, just because we get. We
Sure,
get a lot of
come and go.
restaurants that come and go pretty quick.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
them. Well, we have the
Yeah.
ones that have been here for quite a while, like Cooper's and 511.
Yeah, yeah.
Skeeter's have been here for a while, and they're not going anywhere,
Yeah, I think
Cat Three.
I think that leases pay to have their names listed on the wayfinding sign. That's exactly.
Can they, or?
Yeah, so,
I don't know,
I think they
but I know it's a highway, there's no way they're. not
yeah, they pay, I know they pay for the highway signs.
Right,
I mean, if they're,
I don't think
if we're
we have-
making them already, and they're already paid for it, I don't think we should pay for it.
No, me neither.
Oh,
It's part of it. It's promoting the economy of the town.
Right, and they're already gonna get, the town's already gonna collect taxes from that anyway, so.
Something else would be kind of cool, like a map of town, where you, like, if you're looking at it, you can see visually, oh, historic Georgetown is like that
Yeah,
close.
right.
You know, at the park, cause like you're sitting there waiting for your dog to play.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
so, all of this has been discussed, and I should probably just get someone in here to tell you guys what they're thinking. I was like, kiosks, like an info kiosk with map and everything's definitely something that, they have talked about, so. I think, maybe I'll invite Kevin to come in and talk to you guys about signage, Kuhara. Cause I think he's the one that has all the info and signage stuff, and then you guys can get like a proper update on that, cause I don't know everything about that, but, I know like.
Are the signage, is the signage already in the making, they're already in the phases of making it, or
Some
are
of
they
it,
still in planning phases?
probably both. Definitely they have some signage that they have designed already, and they're just sort of waiting.
So we would like, to put, have some input on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
That would be great.
So, I think that's BPC that's working on that, so.
Yeah, no,
But I can also, when I go to the next BPC meeting, I'll let them know that you are interested.
Well, can we have them come to our next meeting, and can we circle back to, the wayfinding
Yeah,
signage, can you put that on our,
Agenda.
on our agenda, not on our agenda, but our discussion, just so we can go back to that and bring back up something that Christian said and, anything else that anyone else wants to discuss.
yeah, absolutely. And just a reminder that anything you guys want to add to the agenda, just let me know, so. You guys are responsible for this agenda too, so. Cool, anything else? That was good discussion.
Yeah, it's good. I do have a quick question. What do we consider to be the cultural amenities of Georgetown? What are those
Cultural.
amenities? It's one of the things for livability. cultural amenities, and I was like, well, we do have our old school, and they have lots of things there. The mines are probably a great cultural amenity here, the historic downtown, is
Train.
maybe one.
which.
The train, I forgot about the train, exactly.
Jen said the museums,
Which one? What?
our museums, like
Yes,
Fireside
museums, right.
Museum and Hotel de Paris,
Yeah.
Dickory and.
Yeah, I would have to say like all of Sixth Street.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Georgetown portraits.
If it ever re up the RAM. Like waiting for that.
Everybody's there. Yeah, thank you guys, all right, yep. That was it. My last question.
Is that everything? Anybody?
I think so.
Okay.
I should have written it down. Look, do you remember what the number 2 is?
So like what we're gonna do next, healthy and economic.
Healthy economy.
Economy.
Anybody wanna help me with that report? Anyone interested in diving into that a little bit?
What do you mean, what do you need help with?
Well, I just, I mean, a little selfishly, I'm trying to offset some of my workload, but also like, I think it'd be good for you guys to participate in some of the research that's done ahead of time, so.
I think it would be good to get, with that, to zero more about Parks and Rec. And, you know, be able
For the
to
healthy
learn
economy.
more.
We're talking about the economy right now.
Yeah, for the healthy economy, because the Parks and Rec is a big part of Georgetown.
True, recreation.
More,
tourism.
business, business promotion.
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, not business promotions, but do we have a business commission? Did I hear somebody mention a business commission?
Well, in the healthy
Business
economy,
promotion.
we try to sign
That is.
That is the promotions?
Business Promotion
I
Commission.
thought all they did was like events.
I mean, the events are intended to promote the businesses, but also just, like, they hired Jess in particular to do marketing and events, so
Well,
she,
maybe she should be here, the marketing person. What do you guys
yeah,
think about
she
that?
should. I'll
For
let her
healthy
know.
economy,
For business marketing.
you wanna have her here, you are wanting to have her here for the
Well, I'm
next.
asking, do people see a value in that?
Not necessarily, I don't.
I think Jess would be a really valuable person to have here for that, because she keeps metrics
Well-
of traffic and things like that, so she would be a great
Well,
person.
and who's shopping here? What's the demographic? Why are they coming here? We know they're coming for recreation because that's huge. But if we talk about businesses, I'm seeing that as a little bit different. Maybe I shouldn't, but
The wayfinding science plan is on the healthy economy, so having.
yes, that,
Kevin,
Kevin here would be great for that.
yeah.
So it's going to be circling back to it, we will be actually talking about it again, probably more in depth.
that for recreation.
Well,
Beth for recreation, then the signage, and then maybe Jess.
where's recreation on a healthy economy?
Is it Thunder?
Well, our economy,
What?
Where's that on there?
so I was talking to Beth about this yesterday too, or.
Is the healthy economy number 2 on our list?
Yes,
Okay, so that's, where's recreation in there?
Well, it's that people come here to recreate, that's like our major
Right.
tourism.
it's really not part of this, it's more part of the other, but it's just a draw. It's part of our economic base.
Yeah.
That's why people come here. I think that's how we're looking at it.
We didn't have the Georgetown Loop, we didn't have a Christmas market, and a couple other things, Georgetown.
Well, Beth doesn't,
Happy
you
economy.
know, Beth is about the parks and the trails and stuff like that, so.
Right.
But she was telling me that I think Clear Creek is like the second most rafted creek in,
But we don't do that
Colorado.
in Georgia,
right?
right? Now, if people do come up here, they enjoy seal, they do a lot more than just.
Just scared to shit out.
So, to me, Parks and Rec has to do with the livability of the town, whereas we're gonna talk about economy, then we're talking about people coming in to fish, to bike, to hike, to. Go on the four wheel, it's more than just parks, it's,
I mean,
all the things.
a ton of people come to find out there's that, and they have to come through Georgetown. and
Yeah.
that's a lot of people.
So
Yeah, that's something that I noticed was on the livability.
I heard
Yeah.
Vanilla is great
Was
for.
the fast track, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intersection there. And I don't know really what we can do, because that's kind of out of city limits, you know, especially where it gets really messed up at the top there, the parking lot, where it literally turns into a 1-lane road in the summertime, if you're trying to go up over the 285. So I mean, I don't really know what can be done about that situation, but, you know, definitely affects people coming down into Georgetown and stops up a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know exactly how many of those people are actually stopping in Georgetown.
Right, so I
And
think,
maybe that's what Jess would know. How many pass through, how many stop? What we got? Like, what are our numbers? What are we talking about? Cause that's a good point.
she just, got access to this really cool, it tracks people's cell phones basically and tells you literally how many people came through. and
Someone's
stopped.
tracking my cell phone?
Right.
What?
Did it probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, we should know
No,
that.
you're here, Georgia, so,
Hello.
yeah, I
I'm
suggest
glad I
that.
showed up.
Jess and
Otherwise you're gonna pick me and go, why she at the bar?
Because there's gonna be other things we need, abortion, represent, it's one
I
time.
do feel bad driving that,
Yeah.
literally every
Yeah.
single thing.
If there's gonna be other things that we're gonna need her for,
I could maybe ask the like, if you know her, she does recreation tourism, she does like skiing and snowshoeing, and like she does
Maybe
hiking.
other sports would be good. Maybe
Yeah.
that would be a better way to look at it, so we have other dimensions, of the conversation besides just parks. And that way we don't use
I just don't
that.
wanna drag Beth over here for every single
I agree.
one of these.
No, that's thoughtful. I
discussions.
think we need to be thoughtful about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
Cause I see her on a daily basis and she's gonna put her foot in my hands.
About that.
Somebody's up in the gear shop down.
Me
That's.
Me too.
There's a bicycle ski kind of shop.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
Down here.
you gotta call the number to get him to show up.
But think about like if somebody rented snowshoes or, I don't know.
Yeah, they're, one of these used to be Mike's Outdoor Gear, where else
Yeah.
Scooters was, and that.
Where's
unfortunately, didn't make it. Scooters, the old barbecue place next to Conoco.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think one on Sixth Street would do well. Just-
I don't even name of it. I just.
Have you been in there?
No.
oh,
You
great.
haven't
barbecue
eaten at
Georgia.
Scooters?
Delicious. It's really good barbecue.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there it is.
Wow, you need to go there.
All right,
It's legit.
It's very.
now I gotta support everything. Okay, I'll go.
Oh, no, Scooters is, it's the best food in town.
Now you're saying something to me.
No,
I will go there.
this is a Texan.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's smoky. I heard it's a smoky barbecue and I like St. Louis sweet, so maybe that's where I would go.
They have a different barbecue sauces.
Yeah, they got some barbecue sauces in there, but it's damn good barbecue.
Well, good, I'll go. Now I'm happy to know that. Oopsie.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna bring Jess and Kevin to the next one. If I think of anyone else that I think would be interested in relevance, then I will ask them to come as well. And I'm gonna be looking into some housing stuff, a non-conforming clause. And
Deed restrictions and all that.
so the housing stuff includes deed restrictions, multi-jurisdictional housing, HUD, habitat.
Yeah.
And income-based housing, that kind of stuff, so.
Okay.
And getting people to donate their house.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
no, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you should donate your house. We don't have any kids.
I'm actually thinking about putting into a living will, like grow, donate the house to the town.
You can donate to me.
But then
Is there
you're-
anything else?
So Keisha.
Yeah.
Would you send out, I don't know if this is appropriate, I wanna put something on you don't wanna do, but I'm wondering if you could send out a list of these discussion points so we could just all look at them and then be sure that nothing got missed or whatever. Does everyone, is that like an idea people would like to see? Before the next meeting, in other words, just to-dos, takeaways from the meeting.
That'll be in the minutes, won't
Mhm.
Yeah, but we have to wait for the minutes. I'm just talking about casual email. Boom, here's 7 things. This is what we talked about.
She'll get we'll get the minutes, in the next one of these. We'll get it 2 weeks before we meet the rent.
Right.
Did I put the minutes in here?
Yes.
Yeah, they're, I just signed them. today.
Okay, cool, my bad.
What do it?
We gotta approve.
We gotta approve the minutes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if we're done with the discussion, we can do the minutes.
Well, just,
One very small type, minor typo on the second page, the following items were mentioned. I don't think we had board storage. But boat storage,
Wait,
What does it say?
the color items were mentioned, which bullet?
third bullet,
Okay.
board
Oh,
storage.
there's a typo.
Yeah, very minor, very minor.
Vote, it should be vote.
Boat storage.
Thank you.
what's a board,
Fix that.
board storage?
Yeah, we got it.
I think it's a wild thing.
Yeah.
I'll give you the-
Great, thanks for
I've been
that.
having boards up here.
So,
So, should we have a motion?
Do I have a motion to approve minutes for April 17th?
As in.
No second.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adjourn the meeting for Georgetown Planning Commission for Wednesday, May 15th, 2024.
I so moved.
All in favor? All opposed?
Somebody has the other second.
someone has the second, which is.
All opposed? Did you vote?
No.
Okay.